This man is the first person in history to bench over 700 pounds in a competition, establishing a new world record. In 1985, he debuted in the WWE, beating some of the biggest names in the sport, which included Jake the Snake Roberts and Big John Studd. He's also acted in movies which included The Fighter featuring Mark Wahlberg. Straight Out of Jersey welcomes the strongest man in the world, Ted Arcidi.
Welcome everyone to Straight Out of Jersey. I am Joe Zapata, and I'm here with my guest. He is an actor. He's a former pro wrestler. He's also the strongest man in the world, Mr. 705, Ted Arcidi. What's up, brother?
How we doing, everybody? Good to have you on board. Glad to be on your fucking cloud.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on. And actually, your birthday's coming up this week.
It sure is. I'm going to be 64.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Okay.
64. You look great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You look really good, man.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of concentrating more. I'm still lifting and stuff, but I'm doing a lot of cardio too. And what I tell people, I just don't do like a fucking simple Harry jog around the track. I had both my knees replaced, very successful last year, and I got full extension, full flexion. I really worked hard on it too, because I get gym equipment, as you could sell, Weightlifters Warehouse. That's my store here in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
And what I try to do twice a week for 13 minutes, I'll do a mile, okay? And I'll get my heart rate between 155 and 170. And that's fucking good. That's called anaerobic threshold. If anybody wants to know that, that's even better than just taking a simple jog. That really makes you work so you can barely talk when you're running, just maybe a word or two. But it's quick, it's easy, but it helps your heart 10 times more than just doing a fucking jog around the neighborhood. Anyway,
Wow.
I just thought I'd throw that in.
Wow, that's crazy. So where did you grow up? And I know you were a great athlete, and I think hockey, right? Hockey?
Yeah, I was a big hockey player. I grew up in Buffalo and then Concord, Mass.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I really got attuned and accustomed to hockey, because that was during the Bobby Orr era. And
Bobby Orr.
I lived and drank to be I wanted to be a pro hockey player. I was recruited at a really good all-American high school for hockey, Arlington Catholic High School in Arlington, Mass. And I was doing really good. And then I got into the weight training because for college, the coaches were telling me, you got to put on some weight, because I was a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you want to be a good defenseman, you got to run. You got to like control the front of the net, the corners. You got to own the place. So I started lifting weights,
Mm-hmm.
and I started putting on, and this is no juice, man. I started putting on like 5 pounds on my bench every week. I was benching my first 3 months. I got up to 300 pounds on the bench.
Wow.
That's because I did a lot of push-ups and sit-ups and chin-ups and dips, even before I got into lifting. So that tells you a lot about the tensile strength of your joints. You know, you want to make sure before you get into lifting, you got to have good joints, so you have good tendons to build on. And that's what I did. And I'm so glad I did the fundamentals with the calisthenics, because that just made my bench sore like a mother.
When did you know you were strong enough to go into powerlifting? Like, how did you know?
Good point. So I played college hockey for 2 years. And let me see, I think it was like 1980. I was doing summer hockey in Natick, and that was with all the big colleges in Natick, Mass, BC, Harvard, Northeastern. I was playing with all these guys in Division I, because I wanted to get drafted. And then I was at the gym, and someone pointed out, because they knew I had a good bench for a hockey player, they saw this little notation on the cork wall there. It was about a bench press meeting. I go, what the fuck's a bench press meeting? I looked at it, and it's like, wow, they got weight classes, and you get 3 attempts, and they take your best attempt. And then there's, you can win your weight class, and then there's an overall trophy. And I said, you know something? For the hell of it, I'm going to just go to this and just see what I could do, because it was a competitive bench, and you have to do what they call a competitive stop, strict. And I was always a strict bencher, touch and go. So I said, what the hell? And I went there, and I got second New England's. It was the Balls. Wow. And they started writing about me. And that point on, because I got a trophy, I was written up in the papers and stuff, and some of the magazines. I said, fuck hockey, this is the way to go, because it's like instant fucking success. But something I worked on all the way, but I'm thinking I'm gonna go farther with this. So I just want to say I was in the 220-pound class, 5'10", 220, and I just tried to stay in the 220-pound class, and I would go up every year to like another weight class, because I was just putting on the muscle at 5'10", 5'10 and a half. And then I started competing in the collegiates, and then the Eastern Nationals, and then I got invited to Hawaii with Gus Reswich. That was a Hawaiian. It was called the Hawaiian International Powerlifting Championships at the time, and that was big because it got such big publicity. That was the biggest powerlifting meet as far as publicity and world records broken in the world.
That's when you broke the record, right? March 3rd.
That's when I did the first world record in 1983. I did 628 as a 275-pounder. No wrist wraps, no elbow wraps, just a T-shirt. Slammed it up. And then the following year, I did the 667. It's actually 667, rounded out. I did it for two attempts. First, I opened up with 585. And this is no wrist wraps. You can see that on my website.
YouTube, on your YouTube channel.
Ted Arcidi YouTube. Yeah, you can see that. 66. I did 3 attempts. I opened up with 585, smoked it. And this is in front of 2,000 people, too. It was my second time out there in 84. And then the second attempt, I said, I gotta go for the record. I gotta go for beat Kazmaier's record, which was 661. And I loaded it up to 666.9, whatever it is. We just rounded it off to 667. And I got it up, but it was crooked, and they nullified it, got red lighted on it. Then I did it again, almost got it crooked. It was crooked, and it all went up all the way, but they said, no way, red light. And then they said, let's give him a 4th attempt for a world record. And I went for it, and I said, I got to get this motherfucker. I didn't come out here for nothing. And I got it up, and I slammed it up, and the place went shithouse. And that was, I still think, for a body weight, I was 286, I think, 283. And I did 666 for 3 consecutive reps, 3-minute rest, allowed it in powerlifting, at a full powerlifting meet, and then get it again the last attempt. I don't think there's ever been a feat of strength like that ever, ever, ever in powerlifting. No. Today, all you see is these fat fucks. And I got nothing against these big guys, but they're fat. They don't look like they're in shape. They're doing some great weight, but they can't even bench twice their body weight. Yeah. Look what the fuck I was doing, And then the next year, I wore this, what turned out to be like an Under Armour shirt from Inza, because you can see in the video on Ted Arcidi YouTube that I'm breathing. I'm not walked out like this. It was like a prototype. If anything, it kept my shoulders warm. And I smoked 705. And then I got drafted by WWE. I got called up by Vince after that. Yeah. And I was going to go to Turner, but I had such a good meeting with Vince. And as you know, wrestling was hot.
Yeah, wrestling. I was going to ask you about that. So I heard, and because I'm friends with a lot of the wrestlers.
Yeah, Patera helped me get in.
Ken Patera, he said he gave you the word, right? To come in?
Yeah. Me and a friend of mine, another good powerlifter, Steve Sanderson, out of, I think it was Plymouth, Mass. He went to the Hawaiian Internationals with me in 84 and 85. And before, when we were training, he was a real good friend with Ken Patera, and he introduced me to him when he'd come to the Boston Garden. Kenny would let us in. We watched the matches and shit. And Kenny knew what I wanted to do, and he knew about it because he was reading about me, because he's, as you know, he was a great competitive lifter. Probably the strongest Olympic lifter, I think, for his size ever. I mean, a military press, even though we jerked it up, that's still incredible, 500 fucking pounds. Yeah. And then, he kind of told Vince in the background, keep an eye out for Ted. And then as the publicity came out, as I set the record, it was on, NBC stations. And when I went back home, it was in the Globe, the Herald, the Boston Globe, the Herald, the USA Today, that I first man to bench 7. So I kept all that publicity, and I sent it to Vince. And Vince says, listen, I know about you already. Come on down. We got to talk. So that was the balls.
Yeah.
And then
Vince
I
loves big
signed.
guys.
I got the contract and I signed after a week after I brought it back. I didn't want to sign right there.
Yeah.
But that's one thing I always owe Vince. He gave me an opportunity and I'm glad I took it. And he says, you got to learn to wrestle. I go,
Yeah.
I am wanting to learning and I want to learn because I'm going to use that same discipline that I did with the weight training and the powerlifting into wrestling. And I did that. And as you can see, I started out just squash matches, easy stuff. Because they got me after wrestling school. Shit, I was in wrestling school in Orange, Connecticut with Tony Altamori for maybe,
Oh yeah.
I don't know, 5 months, 6 months tops, because they wanted me in right away because Kenny Patera was in the can because of the Big Mac attack at McDonald's he had.
Yeah. Your first match was Mario Mancini. Mario Mancini, right?
Mario Mancini, yeah, I was up against him. It was just an easy squash match. But then I just get better and better and better. And they wanted me to start as a face because I was over in New England and the East Coast because of the lifting attempt, especially New York City. For some
you were
reason, I
over.
was really over with the bench press world record. Well, I mean, when you think about it, they showed that world record every Saturday morning, 7:05, and Vince figures, hey, let's have the world's strongest man for reals on us, and he's gonna this is our guy. This legitimizes wrestling, which it did in a way, And
Did you prefer being a heel or baby face?
Yeah, and then I got my best match with John Studd. We ended up filling up the Boston Garden as the main event. I said, Vince, you sure you want to do this main event this quick? He goes, Ted, we're ready for you. Studd will work with you. And now he says, and he pulled me aside. He says, Ted, we got our high flyers, we got our technicians, but nothing ever is better than two big fucking guys killing each other out of the ring, especially if it goes out of the ring. And that's what I want you to do. And that's what we did. And the place went shithouse, especially when I picked him up, because Studd had that thing where he wanted to get $20,000. You could get $20,000 if you press slammed him. And I remember we were talking about it. He goes, you can pick me up, but don't slam me. Well, as you know, with the tape, when you see the match, I picked him up like butter cakes. Yeah. And then he grabbed the rope, which was good, though, because it was part of the act. And the place, I remember the Boston Garden. This is the older Boston Garden. It shook like a mother because I lifted him up so easy. People thought I was going to throw him out into the fucking crowd. And then we took it out of the ring. But that was a great match.
Did you prefer to be heel or baby face?
I like being a heel. But you have to learn, as you know, you have to learn as a face because that's where you learn like the whole didactics of the psychology of a match, of a real match. So when I turned heel up in Stampede Wrestling, Stu Hart's territory, and then when I went down to World Class with Fritz Von Erich, I was a heel. And I like being a heel because I'm good I have a good rap on the mic. And I had a manager. I mean, that's pretty cool. I had the strap down in Texas. And
Percy Pringle, right? Percy Pringle was your manager.
Yeah, Percy Pringle, who's going to be Paul Bearer.
Paul Bearer.
Great guy. Very sad that he passed, but he was great guy, really good. We were on the road a lot with me, him, Matt Bourne, Tony Atlas, and great territory to work down there. And of course, I was in the precipice of his what do you say? Who was in his stable? Rick Rude, Dingo Warrior. I mean, we got a great list of guys. And Gary Hart was the manager now at that time for, I think, Al Perez. We had some great matches with him, and I miss Gary Hart. He was the balls. He really gave me some psychology tips on being a heel. And, I still owe it to Fritz Von Erich because after we did some dark matches, when I went down there, kind of like trying out to be a heel because they want to see what they got. And I had a match with, I think it was Cousin Junior down there. And it was a great match, and back and forth. And then my big thing was just killing people with a clothesline, I mean, I really had the 26-inch arms. And when I'm coming off the ropes, whether it's a double axe handle or a clothesline, forget it. It was vicious. People loved it. And I remember him saying after that, he said, you can work, brother. Go in and see Fritz the next morning. And that's when Fritz says, thanks for coming down. We're going to put you with Percy. We're going to give you a shot at the belt. So he was great,
Wow. The kids were really nice.
I mean, you can't beat it. They gave me opportunity, and it was good. It was really good.
Yeah, the kids were nice too. Kevin and Kerry Von
They
Erich.
were good guys. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, they
that's
get
a
a
picture of
rap.
me and them. That was me
Yeah,
and
they
me.
get
And
a rap of who's that picture of me and who?
that's me and Kevin Kevin Von Erich. I was going
Oh,
to show
no
you that.
shit. Yeah.
Yeah, me and Kevin
They get a
were good
rap
guys.
of getting on drugs and stuff like that. And their father was overbearing. You know, I didn't see any of that down there at all. They
No?
seemed like good guys. They might have gotten caught up with the drugs and stuff, but they never had egos. They were good. They were good people, man. When
Yeah.
I was down there, I didn't see any egos. Even
Yeah.
with Dingo Warrior, Jimmy, he was fine down there. I guess when he went to New York, he got a big head.
Yeah. Let me ask you about Vince McMahon. He's been in the
Yeah,
paper recently with a lot of stuff going on. How was he with you? Did you
he
see
was
anything?
great.
He was
He was
great?
great. I mean, like I said, he gave me an opportunity. I mean, think about what the guy did. He gives me a main event match, primetime wrestling, Boston Garden, full capacity, main event. He got me an LJN doll, got me in WrestleMania 2. I never lost
Mhm.
on TV. I mean, the guy was great. The guy
Mhm.
he had people working with me, fresh out of wrestling school, and they were great. I mean, yeah, there were some detractors. I'm not going to bring them up, but there's always a couple assholes because they think, oh, who are you just coming up here, not working down south or the mid south or Florida like these other guys? They put their time in, and I respect that. But you know something? I put my fucking time in too with the world record, all the behind the neck presses, all those tricep breaks to my
Mhm.
nose, you know,
Yeah.
all those world records in the bench. So you know, I said, hey, you know, if you don't like me, fuck it. But most people like me
How was
because they
Andre?
respected what I did.
How was Andre the Giant? Was he a nice guy?
He was kind of quiet. I think when I was up there, he was in a lot of pain. He was in a
Mm.
lot of pain. His back with that acromegaly.
Mhm.
So some people say he was kind of like just kind of mean to people and stuff. I didn't see that much. I saw more of a guy who was in pain and he just didn't feel like talking a lot because I know, you know, with my background in science and stuff
Mhm.
and you know, physiology, I could tell when someone's in pain.
Yeah.
And shit, I gotta hand it to him. He hung in there because Vince needed him all the way up till 87, but then he died right after that. So he
Mhm.
kind of, you know, he kind of
Yeah.
hung in there. But I mean, yeah, he's got a rap sometimes on. I mean, what are people telling you, Joey, about him?
They said that he wasn't really nice to a lot of fans.
Yeah, yeah.
He
I
could,
think he
and
was in pain. I think the
yeah,
guy was in pain, and
yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
you
How
know,
come other
after
power?
WrestleMania 2, that battle royal, which was great. What a friggin' showcase to show 20 of the world's strongest wrestlers and biggest football stars in the world. Everyone in the world was tuned in to the Chicago Rosemont Horizon with that 20-man battle royal. Just the intro alone, it was like you're over. You're
Mhm.
over. You know,
Yeah.
you get approached at airports and everything else. That's the promotion of Vince. But after that WrestleMania 2, when Andre won the battle royal, he went around the ring, he went around the locker room and shook hands with everybody saying thank you. And I thought that was pretty cool, the guy.
How come other powerlifters like Bill Kazmaier or Anthony Clark didn't get into wrestling?
Because they can't sell.
That's a good
They
point.
can't sell. Their head's too big, their ego's too big. We tried to work an angle, me and Kaz, and this was Vince's design. I thought it was a good idea that we were going to take it to New York as the world's strongest man. I mean, Kaz proved himself as the world's strongest man at these NBC World's Strongest Man events, which he won outright. I mean, he was great.
Mhm.
But the guy, he couldn't move that good, and he didn't sell. He didn't want to sell
Really?
because he had that ego. And I think a lot has to do with athletic ability. I don't think he had that much athletic ability. If you watch my stud match, I mean, I'm flying off the top rope, double axe handles. I'm in the back, pulling, you know, we're out of the ring, running around, hitting each other, but I'm selling. And
Mhm.
speaking of selling, I still think the best wrestler I think the WWE ever produced was Triple H. Even though he was a friend of mine, um, he could sell. He was big. He could throw a punch, but selling is so key because if you don't sell, you're not going to get the pop from the crowd when you do go down. You know,
Mhm.
and that's where egos come into play. There's no room for egos in wrestling and pro wrestling. It will
Mhm.
stink the fucking house out.
Now, Triple
That's
H
why
worked.
Kaz won't take people on his site. Like I've heard fans call in they've told me too when I go to signings, Cass Meyer blocked me. I go, why did he block you from Facebook? Because I asked him about wrestling, and he just wrote 3 words: wrestling is fake, and he cut the guy out because he had such a bad experience. That's why. He never had a great match.
Triple H, did he like work for you or something? How did you know him?
He worked in this place right here, the mill building I'm at.
Wow.
And this houses my store, Weightlifters Warehouse. We sell fitness equipment. But at one time, I had a woman's gym behind me on the other side of the mill, and it was the largest women's gym in New England. And he helped me because he was the manager of Gold's Gym down the street in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Wow.
And the guy was great. He helped me in the store, and this is when he was a kid, like just out of high school. And he was promoting bodybuilding around it. So the kid had a business sense too. He wasn't just like a great bodybuilder, which he was, and good size, but he had a good sense of business too. He really, really did. He helped me out a ton. And
do you watch wrestling? Do you watch any of the wrestling today? Do you watch it or no?
I watched some of it. It seems kind of diluted. It seems kind of thinned out. And honestly, they don't look like the wrestlers before. Like most of them, you wouldn't recognize them if you seen them because they don't look the part. I don't know if that's a slam on that or what, but I mean, unless they're really, really noted and they're over, I think they don't play the part. They're not big. They're not big like us. We had the strength. We could back it up. You know, Joe?
Yeah. Did you guys, did you take steroids a little bit or towards the end?
Yeah, I took steroids. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one thing. When my senior year at Norwich, I was doing my student teaching in Concord, Massachusetts. And before I was going to go on my first cycle, I wanted to see what I could do natty on the bench. And I did a 600-pound natural bench, weighing at like 280.
Wow.
And not a lot of people saw it in my gym, but no one will believe me. But that's my best bench. I knew when I did that, the formula is if you get on the roids, and I didn't take a lot, but if you get on the juice, you can figure 100 pounds more in your totals, your bench, your deadlift, or your squat. At least more in the squat, more in the deadlift because of the percentages. But I knew I was going to go, so I went on light because I had good receptors. I was in shape. And I stayed in cardio shape too, which is important. And I think a lot of people miss out on that fact that that's such an important resource when you're a lifter, especially for power, because you want to get that exuberance, you want to get that explosion. And the only way you're going to get more and more explosion, other than the squat, is doing your running, doing that sprint at the end a couple times a week. And that's what I did. And I just stuck with that formula. And I think that helped a lot. And so I was taking people are going to laugh, but the most I took in my peak when I set the world's record at 705 in Hawaii, the last 2 weeks I was on 750 milligrams a week. That's it. That's between orals, which was Dianabol, Anavar, Winstrol, the old 3, and Decadurabolin and testosterone cypionate, and maybe I think it was those 2. And that's the most I took because I had the good receptors. Nowadays, and even not long after I got out of the game, people were taking that every fucking day. I mean, can you believe that, Joe? I mean, that's overkill. Yep. So it kills their receptor sites, so they get stale. And then that's when they get injuries, too, because I went on the stuff for maybe a cycle. Then I'd go off for 5 months. And I still worked hard when I was going off because I knew in my mind, if I still worked the bench and I was going for 5s, 6s at the time, let me try to get my best 6s. And I was still knocking out 510, 515 for 6s. No wraps, no nothing, just the belt. And I knew when I can get the 515 for 6s, my last set, I was ready to start a cycle. And then I would go right to 5s, 3s and 2s. And it was a short cycle, maybe 12 weeks, and bingo, I was there. When I knew I could do 635 for 3, okay, nice strict ones, and then a 650 for a 2, I ended up getting 650 for 2.5. I knew it. I could sleep. I'm not going to get any stronger. Send me to fucking Hawaii. I'm ready. And that's how it is, because you're not going to get any stronger. Why worry about what you're going to do? What happens, happens. And that's the mindset I had,
when you're training, is legs the most important thing for powerlifting? Training those legs.
That's a good point, Joe. Legs are very key.
Okay.
Legs gives you the explosion. I still did my squats once a week.
Okay.
I got up to, I get up to like 500, 550 for fives, eights. And then I'd throw in some threes and stuff. I got up to like 620, 630. But I would do them. I wouldn't kill it, but they gave you the strength. They give you the explosion, man. That's a lot of weight. That's really good for your whole system. And I heard that even before I got into powerlifting, that squats help out your whole system, your whole being for explosion. I didn't get too much into deadlift because the deadlift was there because I had the upper body strength and I had the lower body strength with the squats. It was just a matter of pulling. I got up to like a 730, and that was tit, But I didn't want to kill it because I still wanted to go for the record in the bench. But in a powerlifting sense, at a real powerlifting international event, not this bench of fucking loser stuff they got, the bench of a loser, where they do bounces, where they wear like 6 shirts, where they, they got elbow wraps, wrist wraps, and then some of these assholes are slipping on this sling thing to make them go up. I get a kick out of these reels where they show this kid 17 benching 7. He does it in a bounce, and he's got the sling shirt on, and he's got elbow wraps. Must be real tight because he's wearing a fucking sweatshirt. He could never, ever do that in a contest. The most he could probably do in a contest is maybe 600. Wow. Because I've asked these people, like this is even like 10, 15, 20 years ago. Okay, you guys, take off your bench shirt, take off the elbow wraps or wrist wraps. If any of you guys can do 625 or 650 for one single rep, I'll give you $5,000. I get no takers. And you can tell because when they take their shirts off, the bench shirts, they look like shit. They're still kind of fat. They got bitch tits, and they just got a gut and everything, Yeah.
What do you think about Mark Henry?
Not to promote myself, but that I did it hardcore, and at least that's what got me into wrestling. I think with Vince and with Fritz von Erich, I played the part. I looked like a fucking strong fucking guy. I looked the part. I'm very muscular.
Yeah. What do you think about Mark Henry?
Mark was okay, but I think he got into wrestling when he was hurt. A lot of people don't know that, but he fucked up his knee, and he got into it too fast. And I think the fact, because I was watching, I heard he was in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
And then I looked at his match because I wasn't watching a lot. I looked at his match just by chance, him and The Undertaker. And it's like, give me a fucking break. WWE, is this the best product you got for World's Strongest Man? Are you shitting me? He was sweating his ass off. He couldn't move. He couldn't do half the shit I could do. And by the time he put Undertaker on top of the rope to do a suplex, I could have gone into the fucking kitchen and had a sandwich or a hamburger or something. He took so fucking long. It's like, I seen enough, man. This guy kind of sucks. He couldn't move because I think he was hurt. But he was overweight. He didn't look like a strong man. He looked like a fat man. Okay. And same thing with this guy, Julius Maxis. He's strong and stuff, but he looks like a fat man. These guys, they don't look the part, and they're not pound for pound as strong as me or Eddie Cohen. Eddie Cohen is truly the strongest man in the world powerlifter, Eddie Cohen. And I'm so glad he was with me out in Hawaii because we got a kinship there. We both pushed each other to the max. And that is the biggest meet where he set world records and I set world records together. And that year, spring of '85, and it was on TV everywhere. I'm so glad. He was my roommate, and we had a fucking ball with Doug Furness, too, sadly, who passed a few years back. Extremely strong guy, but they were probably the best friends I had in powerlifting, and I want to hook up with Eddie again.
Yeah, we'll get that going. I want to ask you about acting. How did you get into the acting? Is that because of wrestling?
Yeah, good question. I got out of wrestling because I was Vince never gave me a call back from when I was down in world class. And I said, I'm going to hang in here a little longer. But if he doesn't give me a call back, I was starting a family and it was hard to go back and forth. And I had my vitamin supplement company going for a long time, since '84. But with the exposure I got with the wrestling, that fucking thing. And I had worked a deal with Muscle and Fitness, Joe Weider. I was writing articles for me. So he put my ad in his magazine, and that just burgeoned into like international dealers and everything because of the exposure I had on TV with Fritz von Erich and Vince McMahon. And I'm saying I'm gonna push this thing for a while. And so I got into the vitamin supplement business, Arcidi Strength Systems, and man, we were in all the GNCs, and the GNCs loved me because, unlike any other brand, I would tell them, I'd go to the corporate offices and say, listen, if you carry my brand in the GNCs, I will do above and beyond what these other assholes do for their brand. I am the guy who takes the stuff. I set the world records. This is living proof. My shit works. I'll go to your place. I'll do the malls, and I would do a behind the neck press exhibition, just like you see on Ted Arcidi YouTube. And the place went shithouse because of what I did wrestling, but because they saw in real time, real strength. Nobody did that shit. So they were happy as Rich Peduto, Frank Wilson. There's a couple other guys from GNC. They were really helpful in getting my brand there too. And it was great. I had a great ride with that. And then during that, you know, I'm getting sore because I'm still doing exhibitions and I'm training heavy, but I'm looking the part. I'm big as a house, but I'm starting to get sore. Your body starts breaking down. Your shoulders, your collagen, your cartilage in your joints, it starts decreasing. And I said, I can't do this much longer, but I want to get into something else. I want to get into entertainment. So I said, let me get in. I want to get into acting. And I just didn't want to do acting like being a thug. Okay, you're a big guy, you could be a heavy. That's fucking boring, you know? Like The Big Show, something like that. I wanted to get into real acting, like scene study and stuff. So I made a concerted effort, and I started taking acting classes in New York, in Boston. I did both markets. I did a lot of free work. And this is in 97. That's when I actually started. Acting classes, I started like in 95. And I would hit these, you go to these scene studies and casting director scene study classes where they're like real casting directors for like big shows, Law and Order, Blue Bloods, you know, hit movies and stuff. So I said, fuck that. I want to get in front of these guys. So I would do the study, and they liked my scenes. And acting is just doing it over and over and over again and keeping yourself in there. And lo and behold, I started getting parts. I mean, I got all the student films and low budget films, but what I did was I built up a reel. They call it an actor's reel, where you build up your best scenes. You show them your different levels, your different planes of life, so to speak, you know, so they can see, okay, he could do that. He could do this. He could do this type of character acting. And they liked that. And then I sent out what they call the actor's reel to all the agents for film and TV in New York, and all the casting agents for commercials in New York. And I got a commercial agent, and I got a film and TV agent right away. It was great. And then I started doing Law and Orders and non-union commercials, and I started doing union commercials. But yeah, I started hitting my stride probably, I don't know, 98 through 2003, and then I started really hitting some stuff after that. And yeah, it's
you got
great.
The Fighter.
I got a good credit line. I got a shitload. I got about 31 credits. Law and Orders. Most recent one was Ray Donovan's. I was on that series. That was a great series. Blue Bloods, as I mentioned. The Leftovers.
The Fighter.
A whole bunch of stuff. Oh yeah,
The Fighter.
Of course, the movies
right here.
And the Town. The Fighter, of course.
I put up the picture right here.
Wahlberg.
The Fighter. You and Christian Bale right there.
Yeah, we were in that room. We were in that room doing that scene. No shit, Joey, for 5 hours. And when I first auditioned for that thing, and this is the best. Any new actors out there, do the same thing I did. I went into this audition not knowing who the fuck is what, because you don't want that on your head. I knew it was a movie about someone in Lowell who became a fighter. Okay. Well, you know, I'm thinking there's a lot of independent films out there. Let me go in for this, you know? And I went in for this. And I remember the director, or Russell, he was there. He looked like a kid right out of film school. So I'm thinking, man, you know something? I'm going to treat this like any other acting exercise, like I was doing scene study. And I'm doing the audition. He's having me go to a bunch of different ways and stuff. And he's with another casting director. And this is the callback. And I'm thinking, yeah, this is cool. You know, if I don't get it, it was still a great acting exercise. And David O. Russell, as a director, he did something very different that some of these directors are doing now. Like I just auditioned and I got the role. We just filmed it too for this HBO series coming out this fall called The Chair Company, where I play Al, the building supervisor, and it could be a reoccurring role, which is great. But what he did was, you go into the audition, and he has you start reading your audition that you've been reading for like the last 2 days. Then he stops you right there, and he goes, "What if I tell you this? What if I tell you that? Now what are you going to do? Tell me now." I'm thinking, okay, yeah, you're going to do this, 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 and this, and I'm going to do that because I'm going to kick his ass. And then you just answer him as naturally as you can. And then he would say another scene. I go, I'm thinking in my head, this is the balls. This is like an acting class. I love it. And I did it, and they seemed to really love it. They brought up different stuff. What do you think of this? What if I did this to you? And what if the guy you're representing in the fight doesn't want to get enough money and he's out of shape? What are you going to tell him? What are you going to do? And then I would just use my own reservoir of experiences. And I'd say, well, you know, you got to get in fucking shape, and you can't bitch about money because you're going to be out in the street. You'd be like these other guys, like gym rats, doing nothing for the rest of your life. And I just ad-libbed myself, and they loved it. And they said, can you do that again right now? And I did the same thing again. And then I said, thank you and everything. It was a long callback, they call. And I go, hey, listen, thank you for the tips. So I never did like a feature like that. I didn't even know it was a feature. And that's the best way to be. And then lo and behold, I found out that they auditioned in LA for that part, for Chicago. And then I got the role, and that just set me off, which was great. I mean, all of a sudden it makes the Oscars, my scene. I'm with 2 Oscar winners, you know, Christian Bale, Melissa Leo. And that was so fucking easy. It was just so much fun. It's like, I could do this shit, especially when we're in that room. And I remember David Russell, and I didn't even know who Melissa Leo was. I even asked, I go, you a local girl? He looked at me like, it's like, that's the best way, you know? And she respected that. And she said, if he's not saying anything to you, you're doing great. So I just kept doing my thing, and I would switch stuff around. That's another thing, too. They want to see you when you regurgitate a line, or when you bring it under the lights, use your own words. I remember Christian Bale saying that, too. Don't sweat it. Just let it come out the way you want. And you know something? It was easy.
Yeah.
It was
How
easy.
was Christian
And some
Bale?
of these, and I'm thinking, fuck, I can do this shit. Because I'm not going to mention names, but some of the people on the set, maybe they just, you know, they were so busy with other films and stuff, they didn't know their lines, and they had to keep doing it again and again and again. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, this is good. Even the best stars fuck up. I'm into that. That's cool. So it made it even more like, Joey, I don't know, how's that, like humanistic, you know?
Wow.
So
How was Mark Wahlberg? Nice guy?
great guy. Mark Wahlberg, if you're listening, you're the one that got me to go to mass every day.
Really?
He did, because a couple mornings he was really late for filming, and someone said that he was coming back from mass. Mass, it's not Sunday. And he goes to mass every morning. So that hit me. And unbeknownst to him, I thought about that. And I'm thinking, if that kid could do it, I could fucking do it. I was a Catholic anyway, but I was like one of those Catholics coming back to Catholicism because I was away so long, you know, when you're on the road wrestling and you're kind of doing some fucked up things. So I'm thinking, you know something? I'm going to start going to mass every day. And I started going to mass almost every day since him. You know, I want to tell him that too. And I think he's done a lot for acting, especially his parts, when he always involves the Catholic Church, the religious portion, the faith of an athlete or something. And that's good. He's such a great guy to work with, and he's down to earth, and he's done so much. Yeah. But Bale was great too.
Bale was great
Bale at that time, he was people were saying, well, he was an asshole on the set. He bitched out Lily Tomlin or this or that.
Yes.
And, you know, I'm thinking, you know something, this guy's great, man. I don't know what they're getting. Maybe he had a bad day, but I'm not going to taint him for life. He was great.
You
He
did
got into character too. He got into
really?
character as Dickie Ward, you know,
Hmm.
the fucked up kid on the drugs. And he
Yeah.
played it to the max. He drove a shitbox truck, lived in Lowell. I swear he must have slept on the street because even offset, he was in character, man. He looked like a
Wow.
fucking crackhead.
Wow. You
Remember that
did
movie he was in, The Machinist?
yeah, we were skinny, real thin.
Yeah. He did the same thing on that set too.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Now there's
crazy.
a guy that, totally got engrossed in his part.
Yeah.
You know?
You were with Denzel too in Equalizer, right?
Yeah. Denzel. That's on my reel too, I think.
Yeah.
On
How was he?
IMDb. That was great. That was a great scene. We filmed all morning for that. 6 hours we filmed that.
Oof.
And it was a great scene with him. I think that's in the international copy overseas. That scene with Denzel, the barbecue scene. And that was good. And that was another one that, like, yeah, I can rock and roll with him. He's a cool guy. And you know something, Joey? It's just like they get up in the morning, they wipe their ass just like us. I don't know why people put them on a pedestal. Just go in, know your shit, and do your best. Because that's what they're hoping too, you know? That's what they're hoping too.
A lot of the wrestlers make great actors.
Yeah, there have been some good actors. I mean, look at, who's a good actor now is
Batista.
Batista. Yeah, he's getting some good serious roles. Good for him, man. And he did the acting classes. He did the actor scene study, but he worked his craft. And I give him a lot of kudos for doing that because he can do some serious roles, which is good. And then don't forget
The Rock.
The Rock. Yeah. And
John
he's
Cena.
done some good roles. He's got great different levels, flexibility. And Cena, he's him too. I'd say those three are fantastic actors. And I will say this to Triple H. He still could have done more with the acting because he had the potential. Because I think he was a good actor in the stuff that he did. The Chaperone and things like that. Because he could play it very subtle but serious. And I think he was just so busy with Vince. He was probably getting pressure with Vince to run the business, but I still say he would have been a great actor. Paul would have been a good actor. Yeah.
Is it because you guys sell so much? You guys know how to act?
That's a good point. I think it's that, but I think it's our life experiences growing up. I grew up in an academic family. I wanted to get into sports, and it was kind of boo-hooed by my family, so I had to kind of struggle with that. And then growing up in the 80s, you're beat on a lot. I wouldn't call it bullying, but it's just a transitory stage in life that these other people grow up with, and you learn developmental skills. You learn how to fail. You learn how to overcome things. Because today, the actors don't hit. They got zero fucking depth. And you can tell. You can tell because their scenes have no depth. And I used to see it when I did scene studies in New York, and the casting directors, God bless them, they just say, because they're up against the studios, and say, after the scene, especially if it was girls, they were pushed by their fathers that had buco bucks. They looked like models, and their fathers thinking, oh, they'll be great actresses. They would just look at them and say, I don't believe you. And they'd start fucking crying right there. It's like, welcome to the real fucking world. So it's a whole reservoir of life experiences, your life experiences, your developmental stages, what you've gone through. And I think that culminates because there's a lot of struggles. I mean, think the struggles I had, becoming a world record powerlifter and then getting into wrestling and then running my business, engaging with customers. You're gaining all this experience and engaging. So you got a lot of different inferences and situations and different lights that you can pull and utilize in your scenes, pull the feel, And I know Batista, and I know Cena, and I know The Rock. They got a shitload of experiences. That's why they're great actors. And if you look back even maybe the last 10, 20, 30 years, you know who made it the most? Your older actors, Burt Reynolds, James Colburn, and a lot of these guys, Steve McQueen. They were brought up very poor. Very poor. Gene Hackman, same thing. And when you're brought up poor, you fight for everything you get. And when you go in front of that audition, in front of the cameras, that's you coming out. You can't fake it. You can't fake it. And that's what I heard, and that's what I've been told, and I agree with. A lot of these guys, they grew up poor. That's why they became great actors, because they got the experiences.
Yeah.
They got the developmental stages. So much to pull from. Where today, kids are just doing this on the internet, on their Game Boys and shit. You can't get anything from that. What life experience is that? That's why they can't even look at you in the fucking face. You know? They want to be actors? Fuck that.
Now, did you want to be a dentist?
I was going to be a dentist.
Yeah,
Here we are.
crazy.
What chapter are we in the fucking book?
Yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to be a dentist, right? That's kind of weird how you felt that.
Yeah, and when I graduated from college in '82 at Norwich University, I graduated with a phys ed degree and a minor in biology. And my dad, on the way up, I still remember this, on the way back up to Norwich from Concord, Mass. For graduation, he says, you know, and I know you're not going to get a job in PE in Concord, Mass. Because it was so political then. And he was right. He says, this is what I think you should do. It's up to you. He says, you've done a lot of sciences, a lot of basic sciences. If you can get more prerequisites done, and you could do a whole year of prerequisites, we're talking microbiology, biochemistry, organic chemistry, 1 and 2, all these different sciences that you needed, like a med student, to take what they call the DATs, the dental admission tests, like MCATs. And then you could try to get into dental school. I think you could do it. And he says, but you gotta buckle down, and for a year, you gotta take these classes. And you know something? For a whole year, I was substitute teaching. I was making my money, and I was living in a basically what you call a porch in Newtonville, Mass. It was a finished porch, no showers. I took my showers at the gym, and I used to teach school, and I was taking classes at night also, and on the weekends to get my prerequisites. And lo and behold, a whole year, I got all my prerequisites. I don't know if you remember this, Joey, but you ever heard of Stanley Kaplan? They get tests. Stanley Kaplan. Yeah. I took that course for dental admission tests, and I did well with that because it gives you like actual DAT tests, dental admission tests. And fuck, I applied to 5 different universities: Case Western, Marquette, NYU, Georgetown, Tufts, and I got into all of them. My family shit.
Wow.
And I decided to go to Tufts because it was close to home, close to the gym where I worked out at, and close to that porch where I was in Newtonville, Mass. And I only lasted 1 semester there because that's when I just started, setting world records in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I told my dad, and it broke his heart, and it broke my mother's heart, because they spent money on me for dental school. Back at the time, it was like $15,000. And that's a lot of money back then. I said, I'll go back, but I just want to see if I could go for the record. And my father looked at me, and I remember this. He looked at me, he says, you're never going to go back. I go, no, I will. I do. I just want to set the world record and stuff. But he was right. I never went back.
Wow.
I never went back.
Between the powerlifting, the wrestling, and the acting, which one do you like the most?
I love them all.
Really?
Yeah, I had to put them all in a triad. Yeah, honestly, because one wouldn't get the other without getting the other, to be honest.
Okay. That's a good point.
And it's such a strange, you can't make up a job application. There's no thesis on how to be successful doing this. I'm the only one that can do it. And it worked out unbelievable. Without the world record bench, without the TV, I couldn't get in the magazines, I couldn't get into wrestling. And without the exposure on that, and the creativity and the tenacity, I couldn't get into my businesses. And then getting into acting, using all these experiences I had, I couldn't get into acting. But I'd have to say one is benevolent to the other, Yeah.
Wow.
So I'd have to, I wish I could pick one, but I can't, because I wouldn't be one without all of them. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't. If I wasn't an actor, first of all, if I didn't pursue the record, you'd be talking to like a dentist. I'd be in some friggin' hole in the wall office. I might be dead. So
wow.
I went a different way, and I just went by my instincts. I went by my instincts. And I remember when I set the record, my dad's like, okay, good. He's got it out of the system. And so you're gonna love this. I'm coming home, and then he found out, big article in the Boston Globe. Ted Arcidi will sign with WWE at the time. And he I didn't hear from my father. I was supposed to go home. I got a call on one of those old 80s answering machines, you know, with the blinks. And he was blink number 3. I'm thinking, okay, I got a couple catalogs. Maybe I'll get an order of amino acids and stuff, because I was getting a lot of orders in, because my name was big with the weightlifting. And I was advertising in Powerlifting USA at the time. And I was doing like $1,000 a week, which is a lot back then for a mail order company, all by myself, you know?
Wow.
And all of a sudden I hear, Ted, this is your dad. Listen, I just saw the article in the Boston Globe. If you even harbor a thought of joining that circus, I'm changing the locks. Click.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, oh, fuck. And and I saved that message. That's a golden message. I saved it. I couldn't find it anymore. I had it for 20 years. And then we didn't talk. I mean, I talked to the rest of my family. They kind of knew what I wanted to do. But he took it bad, because it's like, you know, I wanted him to go to dental school. He wanted to go to dental school. And you got to understand, my dad's old school immigrant culture tech in his mind. How's a guy going to make money as a weightlifter, as a wrestler? That was like, to him back then, lowbrow, you know, very lowbrow, you know. He didn't know about the Hulkamania Express. And I wanted to hop on that thing, because it's like, you're watching that every Saturday. This is the new thing, man. I had to give it a shot, you know? Yeah. So, yeah, that was after my meeting with McMahon, and it was in the newspaper that I was going to sign with the WWF. But he didn't take it that well, you know?
Did he finally accept it though?
Yeah, he did. When he started seeing he started seeing me on TV, and he saw that he was more impressed with the vitamin company too. But
really,
he didn't really stomach the wrestling, because you got to understand, my family's very academic, you know, law school, dental school, med school, and they just couldn't get into it like most families. So
yeah. But it seems like everything you touch turns to gold. I mean, you're in.
Yeah, well, I had to work at it too. And I go to wrestling camp. I stayed on there for almost a week, and then drive back to Newton. And I had my brother watching my mail order company, Anthony Arcidi, who became a film editor in New York. And he's still in New York. But yeah, it's I know one thing, whatever you do, and this is for everybody out there, whether it's weightlifting, going for a world record, going for a state record, going for a gym record, work your ass off. And I did get that from my parents, you know, the work ethic.
Yeah.
Whatever you could do, whether it's for hockey, weight training, and then you move it into acting and stuff, do whatever you can to get yourself better, because there's always somebody out there working harder than you. And that's the thing I had in my head. You know, I gotta beat this other guy who's out there living a fucking Spartan lifestyle better than me and stronger than me. So I just said, I gotta fucking do that while I'm alive.
Yep. That's great advice. Great advice.
Yeah, it is true. You sleep better at night because you have no regrets. You have no regrets. Just like the night before the world record in Hawaii, 7:05. I slept like a baby. All these other people are like shitting their pants. It's like, whatever happens. It's in God's hands. I did what I can. I'm not going to get any fucking stronger. And it just worked out great. It just worked out great. Yeah. Yeah.
Now you're going to be doing an appearance. I have it up here. The Gathering.
Oh,
right?
Yeah. The Happening, the Gathering, right?
Yes. You're going to be doing that.
That's going to be
August
cool.
1st, right?
Any of you guys out there going, or girls, go to that thing. I'd love to meet you. That's going to be cool. I think that's August 1st, Joey.
August 1st.
Yeah.
Arcidi will be there. You get autographs.
Oh, you're going to be there?
I'm going to try to.
Oh, I hope you're there.
Yeah, so we can hook up everything. Then you have your YouTube channel. Yeah, the
YouTube channel. That's unbelievable. We've had that out there now, I don't know, 4 months.
And you got a lot of subscribers already.
It's got like 2.3 million views already. That's insane.
Incredible.
So it's almost like with the acting, and then these podcasts. These are great because you put it on your websites, on your Instagram. You put that Ted Arcidi YouTube out there. They go to that and they subscribe. And then what we're doing for the YouTube, we got like 7 different videos. It's got the wrestling. It's got the wrestling promos. It's got my world records. And then we're adding like a little commercial that no one really saw. Maybe it was a national commercial like 10, 15 years ago. We're adding a little commercial in there too, which is kind of cool.
Do you have Instagram?
Yeah.
I don't think you have Instagram yet. Do you?
I'm sorry, what?
You have Instagram? Do you have Instagram?
I don't, but I want to get it. That should help.
You should get that too. That's a big thing over too. You got to get that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to
Helps
talk to
promote.
my IT guy about
Yeah,
that.
talk to
I
the
hear
guy.
that's catching on too.
Yeah, you got to get that. A lot of the wrestlers have that and connect. But Ted, I want to thank you for your time. We're going to reconnect with Eddie and everyone.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, give me his address. And who's the other guy?
Jimmy the Bull. Jimmy the Bull.
Yeah, Jimmy the Bull. Give me his name and number too.
Yeah,
send me
I'll
that.
definitely
I'd love to talk
too.
to them.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you, man. I mean, look, it just flies by. I love these podcasts.
It's been an hour already. It flies by, right?
Well, I'm telling you, thanks for having me, and I appreciate everybody out there. And I hope you got something out of this.
Yes, I do. You're a legend, Teddy. Thank you so much for everything.
You got it, man.
You're good,
Thanks,
brother. I'll text you later.
Okay.
You got it.
Thanks for watching the Zapata Brand Podcast. Please subscribe to the podcast and listen where all podcasts are available.